I know that there could be a million questions on this subject. I can't answer them. I can give an opinion, but that then creates a situation which we don't really need to get into. But we would like to present the facts, because that's important, because what we've been reading recently is certainly not the facts as we understand them. Anyway, David Gill had a preliminary talk with his agent at the end of his last season. It was to be continued after the World Cup. I was in the office at Canton. David Gill phoned me. He says, I'm on my way over. He says, I've got some bad news for you, that his agent intimated he wouldn't be signing a contract and he wanted away. And it was a shock. I couldn't believe it, because in the early discussions, as early as around about March, I think, he intimated he wanted to stay. He wanted to stay in a live contract. He was happy at the club. He was at the best club in the world. And it was, I must say, it was terribly disappointing to get that news, because we just couldn't quite understand it. I had a meeting with him, and he intimated to me in his own way that he wanted to leave. So we had a discussion about the whole situation, and I said, the only one thing I want from you, Wayne, is to honour and respect the club's position and its traditions, and behave like a proper professional. And we'll try and see it through. And I knew at that time that, you know, that although I did say to him, and David Gill was also intimated that there's an offer there if he's prepared to accept it. There's an offer that never got into any financial discussion, i.e. money-wise, but I know that David was prepared to offer him a contract would be difficult to better elsewhere. But as we do with top players, there's no big problem with that. They've been facing these kind of problems for quite a while now. Contract issues in the last 10 years, as probably everyone knows in this room, have accelerated to a degree that it become quite phenomenal. However, the area which has created a lot of the mystery about it, as far as we're concerned, and probably you yourself, although you'll know more than I do, is this issue with his injury. And first of all, I must tell you, I've not had an argument with Wayne Rooney at all at any time. He got an ankle injury in the Rangers game. It was seen clearly that he was hobbling about before half-time. He actually confirmed that himself in an interview with Sky. I spoke to him before the Sunderland game, and my planning was, based on the fact he wasn't playing that well, was to leave him out the Sunderland game, make sure his ankle was properly prepared for the next game, a 10-day rest, 10-day recovery, so that he could play for England. My hope was that by playing against England at Wembley, he could recapture his form and we could kick on. His entry into the mixed zone at Wembley has created that next stage where we've had to deal with, i.e. he says he wasn't injured. And I was disappointed, because we know fine well that he was carrying an injury. We sent him for a scan. The scan showed minor defect in terms of the ankle injury. Nothing serious, but needed treatment. And he's had treatment. And there's been no argument. And we've got to a stage now where I feel that we still have to keep the door open for him, simply because he's such a good player. And we've done nothing but help him since he's come to this club. That's another mystery for us. I don't know how many times we've helped him in terms of his private life and other matters, which he's not the only one that gets that privilege, because Manchester United is that kind of club. We do have all players, it doesn't matter who is. It's part of your job here that you look after your players, and that creates a tremendous loyalty. It's always been a good foundation of our club. So we're as bemused as anyone can be, because we can't quite understand why you'd want to leave from a club that no one can deny that is one of the most successful in British football. We've won 40 major trophies, countless cup finals, a fantastic history, a great stadium, great training arrangements, that a platform for anyone to take up a challenge is here, without doubt. Incredible romance, and we don't understand it. So I can't answer your question about, or any question about, why is he doing it. You can speculate, we could have opinions, it won't matter a dicky bird. Simply because the player says he's adamant he wants to leave. We have to deal with the next part of that, which we'll do as best we can in relation to this request. But I can do no more than what we've done and said at the moment, because it's still, in my mind, we still have the door open, and who knows.
Okay, no, there's no questions.
No, that's it.
Sir Alex
Thank
has
you.
also done a piece with MUTV.
Goodness gracious me, Sir Alex Ferguson there. Absolutely sensational stuff from Sir Alex Ferguson. Anyone who's followed his career over the years, and what an incredible career it's been for Sir Alex, would know normally times like this he comes out all guns blazing. Completely different body language from him there, completely different tone of conversation from him there. He wasn't on the attack. He was quite withdrawn, almost looked like he was hurt by it all, didn't it?
It certainly did look like that.
To Old Trafford, standing outside James Cooper, a somewhat shell-shocked James Cooper, I would think. Have you ever seen Sir Alex Ferguson in that almost defeated mood there, wasn't he? It was unbelievable to watch him, James, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous to use words like defeated with Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think certainly there was an element of hurt there. We implied and perceived that there would be an incredible press conference this afternoon. I don't think any of us were disappointed by that, but I think the incredible nature of it has taken everybody by surprise. There's almost a collective intake of breath as Sir Alex Ferguson walked out of the room. He wouldn't answer any questions. He'd made his statement, but I've not seen that sort of body language. I've not seen that sort of gaze from him ever since I've been covering Manchester United, and it really is not so much a crestfallen Sir Alex Ferguson. I think if you look into his eyes and look at that body language, he's invested an awful lot of time, effort, and Manchester United have invested an awful lot of money in Wayne Rooney. Remember, £26.7 million when they brought him here in 2004. He has been something of a linchpin, an icon. His face is on the front of Old Trafford. He scored 34 goals last season and won every accolade in the book. I think all those things added up. The fact, of course, that Sir Alex Ferguson gave him a get-out with the ankle injury, the fact that Wayne Rooney basically threw that back in his face after the England game, all the allegations about his private life, which Sir Alex Ferguson, again, touched upon, said he'd helped him with his private life. I think he feels as though, you know, betrayal is perhaps a very strong term, but I think he's been let down by somebody he's invested an awful lot of time and faith in, somebody who's captured the hearts of Manchester United. Remember, this is a player brought up fully fledged in the blue of Everton, but you look at him in the way he plays for Manchester United, you'd have thought he'd grown up in the Stretford End or in Trafford, because he plays with that sort of emotion. Well, I think quite simply this afternoon the for sale sign has been hung up over Wayne Rooney's head, and I think, interestingly enough, we weren't allowed to ask any questions, but I think one of the most immediate questions isn't, you know, how long has Wayne Rooney got at this football club, but what does Sir Alex Ferguson do now with one of perhaps potentially the greatest players on earth, who at the moment is going through a terrible run of form, when of course he wants to leave the football club. It'll be very interesting to see, because he's got to put him in the marketplace. He's got to have an asset that people are willing to pay for. But what on earth do you do with a player that's not happy when, of course, you can't get rid of him until January the 1st?
But, I mean, it's been likened to a father relationship with his player there. Amazingly, normally in the past when relationships have soured, they're straight out the door, but he's almost left the door open for his prodigal son, if you like, to say that there could still be a future. Over to you, Wayne, as it were.
Well, I think that you're right. There's no doubt within what he was saying there implicitly was, look how much we've done for you. You know, yeah, he was a fantastic prodigy at Everton with all the potential in the world, but he's realised and fulfilled most of that potential here at Manchester United, much in the way that Cristiano Ronaldo did. He wasn't the finished product when he came from Goodison Park to Old Trafford. He has become that finished product. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson, in what he said this afternoon, in the emotional way, because I expected him to come out all guns blazing, not just perhaps the journalists who are trying to ask the questions, but also in defence of this football club. And the things he did evoke were the tradition, the heritage of Manchester United. And I think, you know, as I say, I think he feels let down that all those things don't appeal to Wayne Rooney. He also, I think, is rather stumped by the fact that they haven't mentioned money, but he knows himself and mentioned it that Chief Executive David Gill had prepared a contract that very other few clubs would be able to compete with. The problem is now, of course, that this for sale sign is hung firmly around Wayne Rooney's neck, and you've only got to look maybe 5 miles across Manchester to see a club there with the resources to beat any bid for Wayne Rooney. If he wants to stay in the Northwest, Manchester City will be in the driving seat, and we understood yesterday, of course, that Wayne Rooney is open to a move to Manchester City, but I guess the auction starts now. And Sir Alex Ferguson, in saying that the door remains open, I think it's probably through gritted teeth and with all the hope in the heart, but I think his head knows very, very firmly today that Wayne Rooney isn't a Manchester United player for much longer. And I think what's interesting about this is he's known that since August, and so everyone's been asking the question, what on earth is wrong with Wayne Rooney? Why isn't he in the form that we expect from him in a Manchester United shirt? Well, I think that quite simply, he let them know in August he didn't want to play for Manchester United anymore, and clearly that's not just affected him on the pitch, it's affected Manchester United this season. And certainly, when you look at those images of Sir Alex Ferguson, not so much broken, but certainly disappointed and let down, you realise what an awful effect this has had on the whole club.
Do you think this could have an effect on Sir Alex Ferguson in the long term as well, James?
I don't know. Yeah, I think that it's speculation, but again, if you read in between the lines of what he's saying there, I mean, football has changed, there's no doubt about that. I think when he came to Manchester United in 1986, and certainly for the first maybe 15 years of his tenancy here at Old Trafford, he called all the shots, there's no doubt about that. He said when a player wanted to leave the club. You look at Roy Keane, you look at Paul Ince, you look at Ruud van Nistelrooy, you look at Jaap Stam, all those players, right, I'm having the final word. No such thing as player power. You're out of the football club because I want you to be out of the football club. I think here, this just doesn't make sense to Sir Alex. I think he's realised probably as a result of this, that perhaps the role of agents within football, perhaps the role of, player power in potential. I mean, he didn't call it player power, but that's what he's talking about here. You know, this is a battle that I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson thought he'd lose. But I think this afternoon he's realised he has lost it. He's held out that olive branch. But if you saw the body language this morning between the two men on the training ground, you wonder how this situation really can continue. You know, whether Wayne Rooney plays his football with the youth team or with the reserve team, or whether Sir Alex Ferguson says to him, look, for the time that you're still at Manchester United, I need you to play for Manchester United, and they need to have a marketable asset. It's all very well getting rid of Wayne Rooney, but you want to get market value for him, and you won't get market value from a player that's only scored 1 goal in open play since last March, when, incidentally enough, he was telling David Gill and Sir Alex Ferguson that he wanted to stay at Manchester United and sign a new deal. An awful lot of water under the bridge there, both for England and Manchester United. But the reality is that the sale, the auction, the bidding war, if you like, has already started for Wayne Rooney.
Wanted to leave the club, and then in turn, Sir Alex Ferguson held a meeting with Wayne Rooney, who reiterated that he wanted away from Manchester United. Plenty of you have been getting in touch already on the emails after hearing what Sir Alex Ferguson had to say today.
What a traitor Wayne Rooney is. This is Stefan. He says he was nothing without Manchester United. Nothing. We need to sell him to Madrid and get Benzema.
I'm a Manchester United fan of 23 years, and Rooney is a disgrace. It's all to do with money, nothing more. That's from Yaf.
Marcus, season ticket holder, Manchester. Sir Alex has 20+ years of managing the best players in the world, a task that many managers cannot even think to do. Whatever Sir Alex does will be the right decision. No one is bigger than the club.
This one is from Anthony. He says Rooney has treated the fans, his fellow players and manager with total disrespect. Sir Alex has shown great dignity by maintaining a dignified silence. He supported Rooney by taking him out of the firing line when all the personal details of his private life emerged. Wouldn't mind if Rooney actually merited a starting place in the team right now, but he doesn't. Then he sulks like a big baby and asks for a move. Grow up, Rooney, says Anthony.
I don't want Rooney to leave, but if he wants to go, let him. No one is bigger than the club. Rooney needs to take a look at Beckham. He regrets getting on the wrong side of Sir Alex. Fergie will do what's right for the club. That's Gavin.
Ron in Bury says it's not a case of no player is bigger than Manchester United. So Alex Ferguson ethos is no player is bigger than Fergie. Maybe it's time he stepped down.